Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And I have with me comic creator Steve Tanner Hurley. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Thank you for showing up because obviously I had a guest that canceled, and obviously, I threw out a signal to people, and I guess you saw it in my Facebook group, which is always good. And
I
here we are.
did.
I appreciate you kind of coming on, and I like to interview people, and I like to interview as many people as I can. And so, but I'm excited because you have a Kickstarter going on, and I think you're fully funded.
We
The
are.
goal was $500, and it's a little interesting because I know there's a lot of other stuff going on with this Kickstarter. I think the book's been done already, but then it might have already been done on Kickstarter too, and then this might be a second chance. I'm not exactly sure, but and I'm going to get the name wrong, so I'm sure you're going to correct me. I think it's llectrik, agent of Helix or Helix. Uh,
Uh,
you're going
Electric.
to have to correct me. You're going to have to correct me.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's electric agent of Helix. Yeah.
Ah, see, I spell electric with an E, not an I.
Well, and I was when I first created her, it was written that way, and then I was like, well, I don't want any copyright infringement or anything. I don't need Marvel coming at.
Oh, I just lost him. Oh man, I don't know what just happened. Just lost him. I don't know what's going on.
Got me now.
Yeah, I got you now. That was so
Okay.
weird. So wait, what were
That
you
was
saying?
that. So I was worried about copyright infringement or something of that nature. I didn't need Marvel coming after me, so I was like ill electric. Okay, yeah, and we'll change it. We'll throw a K in there.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but what is the basic premise of this book for those who don't know about it? Because I didn't know about it until you reached out to me. Other
Gotcha.
people probably don't know about it because let's be realistic, there's a lot of comics out there.
There's a lot of stuff out there. My intent when I created it, I created Rin initially. That was my first book. Okay, Rin is the merc with the smirk. She's basically a purple space elf, and then Electric is an energy succubus, and she can project that energy into her hilts that she has, and so you get this wild, crazy, uh, lightsaber ish type thing, but it's real unstable because she's using emotional energy, so it's unstable and everything. It just kind of goes all over the place, and just really gave me the opportunity to draw something kind of wild and wicked. Um, I think I go a little bit more extreme with it than like my artists have. They tame it down and kind of give her a lightsaber type thing, but initially it's meant to be like all over the place, like lightning. And that's where I kind of had the idea. Oh, electric, okay. And she went through a bunch of different names too, but so the two of them, the idea was to have. You'd have can't talk an anthology, um, because what is it loosely based on? It's like I thought, what if you took Saturday morning cartoons from the 80s and 90s, and you mashed it with heavy metal? And that would be cool, right? I thought, so I had all these rogues, this rogues gallery that I created of crazy villains and stuff like that. And I said, okay, well, I'll do an anthology book for Rin, and I'll show her villains, and then I'll do an anthology book for Electric, and then I'll have them come together. And because they work for the Helix agency, then that's where I get the title Double Helix, because there's two of them. And they're kind of like bounty hunter, mercenary, soldier for hire, um, and then it takes on kind of a Charlie's Angels in space aesthetic.
So let's actually talk a little bit about this, because obviously you have Rin, and I don't want to talk too much about that because
Got
that's
you.
not on this Kickstarter, but you kind of get her background and we get her development in that first book, where it's, a few of her stories. We get some of her enemies, also how she's dealing with them and her personality. And then in this one, we get Electric's, enemies and how she's dealing with it and all that stuff, and
Mhm.
also her powers, her personality. And some of those enemies are Yetcha, which is a Yeti like alien race. Obviously, the Soul Sorcerer. I think
Yeah.
Crystallis is this, I think, how it's
Yeah,
pronounced.
actually, oh man, you hit that right on the head.
Oh, thank God, thank God. I thought it was how I was willing to take a gamble on that one. It looked like how it's supposed to. It's spelled how it's supposed to be said.
And that's how I try to, it just the common sense factor, I think, or at least I attempt.
And so what is that like? Because you have three enemies. Each of those enemies is different, and we really get a sense of who this character is and where she's going and how she's just dealing with the problem. And she's dealing with each of these three enemies in a different way. And so
Mhm.
what is that like? Because it does give a lot of freedom. And I don't know if this is going to be canon, if it's going to be scrapped as canon at some point, or you're obviously taking it an issue at a time, but this is kind of the prequel to the next phase that's coming.
It is. Yeah, all this stuff because they're like with Rin, there was a little jab at Electric, and Electric, there's a jab at Rin. So basically, they're like when they come together, they'll have to learn how to work with each other's personalities. Electric is more stealthy, very controlled. Um, despite the fact of her energy is kind of like out there and all over the place. She may not be able to control that as well, but she can control everything else, and so that's where you know uh, you have her personality versus Ren, which is more in your face, berserker. It took influence from everything from D&D to role playing games, to sci-fi to cartoons. Basically everything that I love about comics, cartoons, pop culture, and stuff like that. I said, man, I want to cram as much of it into a comic as possible. you know, Maybe to a fault, because I do get a little overzealous with some of it, I think, but it's fun.
Yeah, and then even going further into this, because obviously there's three different stories
Mm-hmm.
involved in this. And it's one of those things, and I kind of said it before, where this is in many ways a prequel
Yeah,
to, I think, the main series, and we're just getting a taste. But I know that I think you wrote one of the stories. I don't know
a
if
little
you.
mall.
Okay, you're at the mall, and I know you.
Yeah.
Again. I briefly looked at your
No,
Kickstarter.
it's
I had
okay.
like 16 hours, guys. I had 16 hours managing and working a 40-hour work week, an 8-hour day today. But I think you did the art on one of them. I think Benjamin Sanchez did the art on the second one or the third one. And
Yep.
then I know C. Michael Lanning did the art on another one. And I
Yes.
think there's only three in here. I think there's only three stories, right?
Yeah, there's only three. Yep.
And so what is that like? Because, it's cool when you do your story and you do the art on it, and that's cool. But even to hand off your baby to another two artists and then get their interpretation and also get them part of it and sort of telling it in a different way too, in certain ways, what is that like? Because
I'm telling you, that for
this
me, oh, sorry. That for me is probably one of the funnest parts of it all. I created these characters and I want people to play in my sandbox. So, um, now, that's not to say that I'm not guarded a little bit. I retired and said I'm going to start up this comic books because that's what I did before 9/11, and now that I'm out, I'm going to do this comic book thing. So, thankfully I'm in a position where, I can jump on the internet and social media and just scour until I find someone that I'm like, oh, I like this. I like this guy's art, or this girl's art, and then that's when I start making phone calls and using my old recruiting skills to try to pull them in and, see if we can make a deal, and create something together.
So let's actually talk about that too, because I think making comics is easier and harder than ever before.
Yeah, it's different, and I'm real old school. I'll be the first to admit it. I mean, I was drawing comics, pre 9/11, and like the real indie scene. So indie, like no one knows who you are. Indie,
So
you know.
let's go further into that too, because now, you know, I saw something where Marvel and DC make up 10, maybe 11% collectively all the comic world,
Mhm.
and I think it was actually a misrepresentation who put that up, because I think that people have forgotten that Marvel and DC make up a lot more than 10% of
Oh,
the entire
absolutely.
comic world. It's a misinterpretation. But also what I think has happened is that people in the indie world have found their niche. They found ways how to make money, and also there's a lot of different ways how to make money and make a really good living now in 2023 in comics. Because if you do 15 shows and you have the right books, you could sell out and pull in 8 to 9 thousand
Mhm.
in a particular weekend, and it might not seem like a lot, but if you're doing that for 15 weeks, you know,
Absolutely.
I'm not saying you're going to be making $1 million, but it can keep you relatively
Oh,
afloat for a while.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, and that's the key is to kind of find that equilibrium, and that's what I'm doing. I'm very much like Mirage Studios. It's I talk big, I rattle a lot of cages, and it's really just a handful of us. It's a couple artists, and then an old comic fan with a dream, to do comics, for the rest of my life. You know?
Yeah, and even to talk about that, to build a studio and build I guess a bullpen, for lack of a better word, is a good way to put it, and really starting to just even going down and taking it on a very grassroots level, because I think a lot of people in the entire comic world have forgotten how to grassroots and kickstart something. No pun intended. Um, but get something going on a casual basis and on a very low level, because your campaign's goal was $500.
Mhm.
And I think this is a mistake a lot of creators make, is they put a goal at 1,000, or even they put a goal at 5,000. And I understand that you know there's this idea saying, look, I can't afford to not get 5 grand on my book, but I think people also have to understand is that you have to figure out how to make your money on the back end in comics
Mhm.
more so than anything else. I don't think you make money on the front end in comics.
No.
Collectively, I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I mean,
Well,
even
I'm still within the first year of having my studio. So, I just know the business ethic, of you're not going to pull in anything for the first couple of years anyhow, you know.
and then also to go even further into what you're doing, because I kind of touched upon it with this book and even Rin. One of the things is that you're setting the table. And I think it's actually really smart foresight
Thank
into
you.
what you're doing, because you're setting the table of starting to put entry points and also putting sort of a prequel entry point in, where if somebody misses this campaign and God forbid they can't get this book, which I don't think that'll be a problem for you. I think you're going to be producing a bunch of these books, and I think you mass print them.
Mhm.
But God forbid they missed it, they could jump into the next book, which is Double Helix, without really missing too much. But you're also giving those fans, if they come in and see your product at Double Helix, an opportunity to go back and get a little bit more complete story, or they don't need that story. And I
Mhm.
think that's a big problem in comics right now, is people do not know how to set a table in comics. They don't
Oh,
know how to create a prequel. They don't know how to create an interest and almost create And this is the business mind, create a derivative that produces more capital today, tomorrow, and 3 years from now.
And you know, I honestly I wasn't thinking about it from the capital standpoint, and you're absolutely right. But looking at it just from the aspect of being a writer, I grew up on Chris Claremont, and I went back and I said, okay, I got to dust, you know, I had 20 years, you know, where I was doing the military thing. So it was like, okay, I really got to dust the cobwebs off here. And I was like, we're going to get back into it. You know, I'm not doing tattoo designs anymore, or, you know, murals on t-shirts and all that kind of stuff, you know, for the military. I was like, this is I got to get back to, you know, drawing comics again and writing. And I know how to write screenplays. You know, that's what I did when I was in school, and went for writing and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I got that part. You know, it's like riding a bicycle. But I went back and I started reading and doing some homework on Chris Claremont, and I read some interviews, and he was saying, you know, oh, I like to leave threads over here, and I remembered that, and I was like, okay, that's what, you know, I enjoyed about reading these, you know, the X-Men, for example. I was like, because it's a soap opera, you know, and you got to think of it like a soap opera. I've had a friend, and you know, I remember I was telling him, yeah, we got to do a bunch of threads, you know, and he's like, I don't do threads. And I think that's the mentality with a lot of comics right now, and they wonder why the audience is shrinking, you know. It's because let's face it, some of the stories are pretty lackluster, you know.
Some 50%. People on Kickstarter, and I have a lot of friends, a lot of their books are garbage. I hate to say it, but there is a problem with storytelling right now. And it's not a page turn problem. You don't need to have a page turn in your book if you don't want to. You could write it any which way you want, and there's no right or wrong answer.
It's
And
true.
but there's a big issue where your story isn't compelling. It's also not fun. I hate to say this. I'm a big military reader. So
Okay.
one of my favorite military books that I read, there was two. The Winston Churchill book was amazing. 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 I should have requested a physical copy. The Navy Press Institute would have sent it to me in a heartbeat. I bet you they still will send it to me if I ask them nicely.
Heck
But
yeah.
I wrote a review on it. It took me a long time to write the review on it. It was a great, great, great graphic novel about his life. And then the other one was Four Fisted Paw, I think, and it was about animals in combat. And there's a memorial in England that honors all the animals who have died fighting
Oh,
and
wow.
saving countless lives.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
There's all these animals that are war heroes.
Wow.
That it goes back to the Civil War.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There was this dog in the Civil War, for those who don't know, who stayed with Union troops when they were prisoners of war. And when it was rescued, like the dog, they traded a Confederate POW for the dog. Imagine if you're that prisoner of war, you're getting traded for a dog because the dog was arguably more valuable than a bunch of soldiers. It's a crazy story, and it's a true story. It is
That's
a
crazy.
true story, which is insane about American history.
See,
But then
that needs to be turned into a graphic novel.
it's just by itself. It was brilliant. The whole book was brilliant. The fact that seagulls helped to save countless, British submarine soldiers is ridiculous. Where they would throw bread up, and if there wasn't bread, they knew it was a German sub. Crazy, but my point is that that's a fun book, and I think that's
Heck
one of
yeah.
the biggest problems right now is that people do not know how to tell fun stories. They're trying to paint a Mona Lisa picture, and they're trying to tell the grand story that's going to get them a movie deal. We're going to get them clout versus having a good time and producing a fun, sellable book. I think
I'm not too far away from Savannah, Georgia. I'm here in Georgia. So you have SCAD, you know, Savannah College of Art and Design. And I tried reaching out to a lot of these students, And the problem that I have, and I'm finding out that it's an art school problem, because they teach these people, I guess, the basics of how to draw, but they teach them nothing about the business of comics. So like with SCAD, a few people, you know, the cream of the crop got out of school, um, did some indie comics and made some Netflix deals, and so now every kid thinks that they are going to get a Netflix deal and be the next Jim Lee or something.
And they don't realize two things, do they? First off, it's really hard to do that. And B, even if you get it on your first go out, it's not as much money as you think, and that
No,
money doesn't last. And if
does not.
you were smart and not even smart, but did a little homework, you might be able to build a healthier business that won't give you maybe $2 million up front, but will produce you, $10 million over your career.
Mhm.
And if you're an artist and you build and design and go and build a business of a graphic design business and grow it slowly, you might be building a $2, $3, $4 million business. And I think that that's a big problem. The only reason why I know anything about business is that I've been selling and buying comics for 10 years and I've learned it the hard way. I don't have a business degree, I have experience.
Yeah,
And
and that is in a lot of cases, I'd say, more valuable.
it's so weird. And even when I try to talk to people in indie comics about this, I'm like, great, what are you doing? And I see people broke, and I see people in comics working for Marvel, DC, Image broke. Why do you think the Hero Initiative is funded and is still extremely important? Without a doubt, I know people who are 40 who are going to be needing Hero Initiative money at
Yeah,
some point when they're 60, 65. I mean, I'm not going to say who it is, but it's well known in the comic community. There's an artist right now who's struggling. And he's a great artist, brilliant artist, has accomplished so many things, but he's right now down on his luck and needs a lot of medical help.
jeez.
And it's sad, and obviously GoFundMe's are happening, and I think he's going to get out of it. But it's crystal clear that if this is not a wake up call to every artist, I don't know what is.
Hmm.
But we go through this every single year. Every single year. It bothers me because I try to talk about this and nobody listens.
I just remember, being a young 19-year-old kid, with the aspirations of working for Marvel and DC and everything, like I said, pre 9/11. And, but I realized I had to pay my dues, you know? So I was taking, little odd jobs and, the guy comes out of nowhere, hey, I got this idea for a story. Sweet, lay it on me. I was that kind of hungry little go-getter, but I find that mentality is not shared by the majority, and I think it's a little unfortunate, really. You know,
Why do you feel that? I'm very curious because I have my thoughts where I think American society and I think, people have shifted in what they want. I also think people don't want to go and be in the bullpen, be somebody's grabbing them coffee and climbing up the ladder per se. And, obviously, I mean, I work at a company, I'm not fetching somebody their coffee. I'm
yeah,
30, but I paid a lot of dues and I'm at where I'm at because I have a special certification. But to get that, I paid a lot of dues to get where I'm at.
I,
Um, but I'm curious what you think because I think in comics there's a real issue, and let's be realistic. We look at DC Marvel, it's rough.
okay.
It's rough.
DC Marvel, sure. I mean, we're talking about big mainstream companies. They have interns, they have positions like that where hey, you go grab my coffee type thing. But I look at a smaller studio like my own. It's like bullpen should not be a dirty word. We had a bullpen when, like I said, when I was 19, and I learned so much sitting across from other artists and picking their brain. And we were doing drinking draws before drinking draws were a thing. You know, um, and I think there's a lot to be had from that experience. It kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, that experience that I got. I thought it was better than any college I could have went to, and I did go to college, and I would trade my experience in the bullpen, you know, for that experience, any other experience.
I would like to say the same, but college was good for me, but for a lot of reasons. It wasn't even the learning; it was the experience of independence
Mhm.
and actually waking up and going to class. And even when you don't feel like it, going to class. It sounds weird, but it was very important. Understanding you're eating on your own, getting your own food, all that fun stuff. That's college was useful for me, and that experience is
Oh,
beyond useful. And
yeah,
then
and there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm not saying like college is a bad thing. I was just
But
saying like,
but
but
I
from
agree with you on like my eBay business and buying and selling and understanding how to run a business, understanding how to do your taxes and doing your books. Sounds weird. Understanding how to take a risk, when a good risk you took and when's a bad one, and how not to make bad risks. Also, how to spot good deals and not good deals. And when people think
absolutely.
you're crazy, and people are questioning, hey, why'd you buy that? And then a year and a half later, that book is selling for 6 times what you paid for it. And if you're like, oh, I get it, understanding all of that, you could not learn in a classroom. It's
No.
so interesting. And and now I can spot deals miles out,
Well,
miles out.
and I think some of it can be taught, and I think that's where I get a
No, it
little upset.
cannot. It cannot.
Yes.
That is an art where you need to have. No, I'm just messing with you. I love you so badly.
That's the Renaissance man in me that feels that everyone can be taught anything. Um,
I believe when I have kids, this is how they're going to learn how to swim. I'm going to find a 9 foot pool, like 9 feet deep. I'm going to take away their floaties. I'm just going to throw them in and see what happens. And then
Sadly, that's how I learned. So,
don't worry, everybody. If if it gets bad, I'll jump in
absolutely,
to help
yeah.
them along the way. Um, and then we will repeat the process until they have officially learned. And I think this will speed up the process indefinitely. I believe just throw people into the
Flight or
fire.
flight.
I'm gonna develop the next Michael Phelps, guys.
There you go. There you go.
America needs to win a few more gold medals.
Damn Skippy.
This is a very patriotic show right now. I'm doing everybody a service. This is my PSA.
There you go. Absolutely.
No, we're not going to throw my kid into the pool for 9 feet. We're going to go 12.
12. Okay.
We got to raise up the stakes, but I do agree that I also think that a lot of things and everything can be taught, but I also believe trial by fire.
Oh, here's a question, because I know, like I was talking about mass producing comics. How do you feel about, making comics more affordable, or about the collector market maybe
Yeah.
pushing
That's
people
right.
out of comics?
So there's a few things that I feel, and this is actually super interesting that you bring it up. The problem with indie right now is not everybody has the economics to produce 1,000 print run or 2,000 or 3,000 print run. So if you can go produce 3,000 of your book, or that, hey, I'm doing a 50 print run and I'm gonna need 3,000 of cover A or issue 1, because I'm going to be running in the next 4 years, 9 campaigns, and the likelihood of me selling through that makes sense because it gets your costs down, which means that you could keep, your book down. You could pass the costs on to your savings, not your savings, your savings onto your customer. But I think that's a big problem because let's be realistic. A $20 cover A on Kickstarter is really pricey. A $25 book on Kickstarter for a cover A is extremely pricey or Indiegogo. That's a little too much for me. And the reason why is that I use a Zenoscope barometer, and maybe this is not the best way to put it, but
Well, I don't
Zenoscope
know.
a 375 Sun Kumanaki Ketchum cover, or it's now 400 for $20. That cover is a high premium, beautiful variant that is limited to 400 copies. And so I look at that, and it's arguably one of the best artists in the world right now. And I think, I'd be hard pressed. And I think it's a hard debate to say Sankumanaki is not in the top 20 artists in the world right now.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair statement. And that's a $20 book. Now you have a cover A on Kickstarter from somebody I've never heard of, and you're charging the same price that Zenescope is charging. And maybe you're printing 100 of those books, but I never heard of this person. And that's where the barometer comes, is that if company A is doing it for $20 with a well-known name, a well-known subject matter, and a proven clout record per se, and you're trying to compete with that, I get it's indie and I might have to pay more, but that's how I view it. And I think that's a problem. I think when people can get their books downward, I'm more likely to buy it. I just had JD Rosario on. I don't know how well you know my show, but he charges, I think, $10 for his book, including shipping. So, it's $10 landed to me. I'm more likely to buy that book and take a risk on it. Now, if I hate the book on issue 1, I'm not coming back for issue 2. It's on you, the writer, after I buy your book at an affordable price, to keep me there. Not economically keep me there, but keep me into the story.
Oh, absolutely. After that issue 1, and that's what I was saying. Like, you got to bring the threads in there. You got to keep people wanting more.
So this is I'll give you an example with your campaign. If your books, just so everybody knows, your first covers A, B, C, and D are $3 a piece, I think. If you then on your second issue raise it up to $5 for all those covers, and I liked your story, that wouldn't change me backing it or buying it, right? So if you raised it up to $10, maybe, because it's a 70% increase. And no, it's a 3+X times the thing. But if you raised it up to $5, it wouldn't stop me from picking it up. So I think that's where it gets tricky, right? Is, you got to get me in. I think honestly, a lot of people in comics, and this is just my thoughts on it, is that I really wish a lot of creators would make their issue 1s cheaper and then slowly raise up their prices for issues 2, 3, and 4 and stabilize it. And I think they might do better, because they would get me into the series, and you're lowering my risk as a buyer, because I have never heard of your story, but for $3 or $5, I'm willing to take a risk. It's the price of a Frappuccino. I'm going to the movies tomorrow, and I have to go to the movies, and me and my friends go to Dunkin' Donuts. I'll go to Dunkin' Donuts, buy a sweet tea and a donut. It's $4 or $5 straight up. Your Steph Wilson, which I'm going to show in a second here when we go through all the covers, is a $5 book. So I could have my donut and my sweet tea, which I'm going to buy tomorrow anyway, is the same price as your comic, just to put that in perspective. And so that's not much of a risk, right? If your book was $30, now we're talking, wait a second. My friend, the movie I'm seeing is like $15, and that's the price of going to 2 movies. Now I have to make a choice on what is I'm going to do, but I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does.
I have a unique perspective on it. But I find it interesting. Because let me ask you this: you mass produce, right?
Not in the 3000s, but definitely, yeah. What I would consider for an India mass produced book.
What is that? I'm just curiosity.
1,000 or more.
I don't know this because I haven't produced the book.
Okay.
This is something that I just don't know. So, I'm always curious, because I think JD has produced books of 3,000 plus. JD Rosario. And that's why he sells book for like $5, because he might be able to print his book per book for 79 cents.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's sort of in the neighborhood, right? And so obviously the more you can produce of your book, the cheaper it gets, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So it's
Shipping will
interesting.
get you though. That's where shipping gets you
What
every time.
shipping gets you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of shipping. Shipping's hard. I know all about shipping. I know all about
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
there's no way that I don't lose money on shipping on eBay. But when I'm selling, this is why I like selling books. And I just sold a bunch of Jamie Tyndalls, and I sold a whole lot. I sold 4 Jamie Tyndalls for like $212. I paid way less than them for it. I paid on a base cost for those books $41.
Nice.
Now they were in bundles, and they were in some of his mystery boxes, which are really good. So when you cost base that out, but the shipping, I charged $11 on the shipping, and I think the shipping cost me like 16, 17. But I bought an extra $100 worth of insurance. But my profit margin is so good that I don't mind losing a few dollars for safety reasons.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But if I charge $11 for shipping, it's going to be $12, $13 no matter which way I cut it.
It's like I lowered the price for overseas books, just because I realize, a lot of these people want American comics. So I kind of eat the cost a little bit on that one. But if it gets me a fan, that's where it's worth it, for me.
Yeah, and then but I actually do want to get back to this price thing because I am
Sure.
curious about it. This is like the anti Kickstarter method. Politely, because let's be realistic. Everybody goes on Kickstarter, and Kickstarter, at least the way I see it, is that some people clean house on Kickstarter. That's all they want to do. A guy like Tom Hutchinson does very well on Kickstarter. He's making more money not being in Diamond, Lunar, and he just wants to sell directly to customers, and he's killing it. He does well on all of his campaigns, and he's great at it. And I know Tom's been on my show like 6, 7 times now. And I'm always happy to buy stuff from Tom. And then he sells on eBay, and then he sells on his website, and he doesn't want to deal with distribution anymore. And I know some people who want to go on Kickstarter, and then they want to be in a place like Scout or Second Sight Publishing, or they want to be in a publisher. And there you go. And then it gets tricky, I guess, because they also say, cool, I can't use any of the variants on Kickstarter, but this is the place to go for the collector. And so that's where you get your 20, 30, 40, maybe $100 cover. And so you seem to be.
And that's why I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, please feel free to, because you know where the question's going. You know where the question's going, right?
Oh, yeah, but I was going to say that's why I bring in, someone like Steph Wilson, and the print run isn't as much. Let's see, cover.
Because I mean, I have all your covers. I have all your covers. This is the staff.
It's the regular, yeah.
I'm not going to show the
beautiful. Yeah, no, that's understandable. But
so because what it is to me is that it's not even that expensive. I mean, I paid $15, $20 for a Steph Wilson on other people's campaigns, and so what is that like? Because this is like the anti-Kickstarter method, but I think it actually is a good business method. And it's a good business model because you're selling a lot of books, and you're also, you're going to have extras after this whole campaign's over, because I don't think you're going to sell out of every single title.
No, and I want extras.
It's kind of a seed round, in my opinion. I think more creators need to understand that, Kickstarter shouldn't be the be-all, end-all. It should be part of your revenue. I mean, I did a Kickstarter for this show. Almost not this year, but for season 3. And what people didn't understand is that I had sponsorship money coming into it already. And then I raised a bunch of money, and now I don't have to do another Kickstarter for this show. And I'll probably do one for season 5. And people give me shit for it. But I'm like, look, the more money I raise, if I raise $400, guess what? Then I bring in sponsors. I don't have to keep coming back here for a while. And so what is that like? Because I think it's really a smart business model if you know you're going to sell outside of Kickstarter.
And I do, because I have my website, and I've just got a few issues of Rin on there, so that people can go back and get that one. and the idea will be, direct market. I can get it to you on Kickstarters, and then I can get it to you on the website, and that's the goal anyhow.
Yeah, no, it's one of my biggest pet peeves is that I don't think people understand that you want to be everywhere. Like you want to be on eBay, you want to be on your own website, you want to be on Kickstarter, you want to be in comic shops, because why do you want to just have one revenue stream? To me,
Oh,
that is stupid, and that is anti-business. It's anti-beneficial to your business in a lot of ways if you're only on Kickstarter.
mhm. No, absolutely. Because I would like to branch out. I'd love to be in Diamond. I have nothing against Diamond distribution. I'll get in the comic shops. It's kind of like when people used to talk about selling out, and I remember I figured it out at a young age, and I was like, isn't that what you want to do? I was
Oh,
like,
no, no,
what?
no. Everybody has the wrong idea. It's the wrong terminology, and they did not watch WWE. There was a very crucial moment in WWE. Seth Rollins said, "I didn't sell out. I bought in."
Actually,
Very
I like
true.
that.
Very true. But when he was part of the Authority, it was great. He said, "I bought in," and it's so true. And obviously he was the heel, but it's hard to boo the guy when he's that talented and he's right. It's really hard to boo him. But then they brought in John Cena, and then it was crystal clear who's the face and who's the heel. Because it's hard to make John Cena a heel. It really is. But anyway, I digress. But the point is that isn't it if you go and you get into Diamond or you get exclusive covers or you go to Netflix, it's not really a sellout, is it? Because you
No, I
kind of
don't.
bought in.
You got it. Yeah, absolutely. You bought in. You're finally, and then you can take that, money that's coming in and put it into more books. Because that's how I always look at it. It's a means to the end to get more stuff out there for, the the consumer, the I shouldn't say that. I should say, customers. Consumer sounds horrible.
Consumer, they need to eat. That information.
Yes, consume it all though. No, I want people to eat it up. Definitely. If this is your thing, you know.
Yeah. Let me ask you this about selling out and all that stuff. Um, would you ever sell one of your properties? Because I have this conversation with a lot of people too, and I haven't produced a book yet. But obviously, I have this show. I have components of the show. I have a wrestling component of the show. I have a cosplay component of the show. Obviously, I do comics, voice acting. And if somebody said to me, and a YouTube channel said to me, Andrew, we want all of your wrestling interviews, and we're willing to pay you good money, and they're all willing to offer me, I think I have maybe 100, maybe 50 to 100. I'm not exactly sure. Last time I checked, but if they were willing to pay me $50,000, I might consider it. I mean, I would actually have to think about it, but it's a real offer. And the reason why I say that is I would never, ever have to worry about funding for the other three components ever again.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it would
No,
suck, but I wouldn't have to worry about it. And there might be a non-compete clause for 2 or 3 years there, but who's to say that in 2, 3 years I can't come back to doing wrestlers?
mhm.
And all of a sudden I'll lose some content and some viewership, but at the same time I got money. And so what I mean, and I've heard it on both sides saying you're not a real comic fan if you would sell out or sell your properties, or you're not a real creator, or I would do it in a heartbeat if the money was right.
If the money is right, sure. I mean, why not? I, I'm an idea factory. I can create more characters. I can create more. I have more ideas right now than I have time to actually produce them all. So I mean, yeah, if I could sell one for top dollar, yeah, I probably would, honestly.
I mean, honestly, if somebody was willing to buy a piece of my show or even a comic and I had 3 issues of it for 10,000 straight up, I might consider after, I produced it. Or if they were saying, look, you put, 5 grand into these 3 issues, we'll give you 5 grand and then we'll give you another 10. And we just want to buy everything associated with it, minus, my personal IPs, like my logo, my name, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
go right ahead, because guess what? $15,000 is a lot of money in comics. And if I have 4 other books I want to do, that 15,000 can fund 4 other books if done correctly.
I mean, I've created a whole universe, so I mean, if someone wants a piece of that universe, that's fine. I'll sell it left and right, and pick up the other ones that I have, because Ren and Electric are not the only people. I'm calling it the Helix verse, that revolves around this agency and everything, and there's a lot. I've got a lot planned for this. you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I mean, I think you are setting the table very nicely
Thank
with
you.
having those prequels in there that really aren't the main story for this universe and these characters, but they give further insight into them.
Mhm.
And it should be interesting how that all plays out. And then before we show the covers, I am curious about one other thing that I
Sure.
find interesting. And it's actually really fascinating right now what's going on with Kickstarter. I think it pertains to it is that I know that you canceled funding for this one once already, and obviously this one's doing a hell of a lot better. And what is that like? Because I've been part of projects, so I've had 3 weird experiences on Kickstarter. I had somebody cancel a project because it wasn't going to fund, and it was
Mhm.
rough. I had somebody's project get suspended. We all know whose project got suspended on Kickstarter. It's not that hard to figure out who he is. It's really not, guys. It's a very private matter. Now it's really not hard to figure out who it is. Um, I had a back on Indiegogo. I was very upset. I was very upset. I hope I get the stretch goals because I'm going to be furious if I don't. But anyway, I digress right there. And then I had one that didn't fund. And those are the only 3 ones that I didn't get. But then the person who canceled theirs came back at a lower rate. And so I'm very curious, what was that like for you? Because, it's getting back up on the horse, or even retooling and re-examining and checking out. Was it that it clearly wasn't going to fund and it was time to call quits? Or was it saying, oh shit, we're in way over our head and we need to retool? Or is that, hey, this is just not going to work and maybe we need to take 3 months off, make this better, and then come back stronger? Or was
It,
it a combination of all?
a little bit of honestly, it's a combination of everything. It's realizing, because what I actually, even Ren was a second chance when it actually funded. People don't realize, when I first tried, I got on Kickstarter, with all the hopes and dreams of, making thousands of dollars, and it bombed. It bombed terribly. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's not how that works. So you go back, you retool, you make sure that the product is something that people are gonna like. Um, I got involved with Ink Studios and worked with them a little bit, and they really spruced up the my marketing and the look of the campaign and everything. So like I said, some retooling, getting some knowledge where you didn't have knowledge. Um, it helps. And then I think putting that obtainable goal in there, because I noticed that's what I did with Ren, and that's what I've done the second time with, or well, in this case, the third time with Electric, is a more obtainable goal. And people are going to get their. I've got some cards that I'm having produced. One looks like a vintage Marvel card. The other one is the Seth Wilson card, and people will get them. Depending on if we get more money, I mean, I'll figure out stretch goals. That's not a problem. People want a coin, I'll make a coin. I don't care.
But let's even go into this, because right now Kickstarter is very complicated, where I know plenty of people who are struggling. And I know plenty of people who are funded, but they're not really moving much off their funding goal at the moment. And it's bad. And I mean, me and JD were talking about this last night about how he ran a bunch of Facebook ads. And I can say this because the interview's out. And he reached, I think, 842 people, and he converted 2 of them on Facebook ads and spent a lot of money on Facebook ads.
Wow.
and it doesn't work. And it's not, I mean, I don't think he's going to mind me talking about it because the interview just came out last night. Um,
Okay.
I wanted to purposely talk to him about that, and it was good. Spent like 20 minutes on it, which was super important. And then my friend Paul Gomez, who I backed his book, he just crossed 1,000, but it took him a while to get that line. Lori Calteretta, I want to say, her Calteria.
Calcaterra.
Yes, I'm the worst at saying her name. It just doesn't. It just doesn't happen. Everybody, it's her name. Just it's like the fifth time. I always ask her to tell me her name before she comes on. It's just bad. It's just bad. But Path of the Pale Rider is her book.
Yep.
She hasn't really moved much off of her goal, and it's one of those things. And then Travis Gibb is another one who's struggling massively, and those are just like the four that I know. And so what do you feel is sort of the rationale behind that? Because some of them I feel have obtainable goals, like Paul Gomez. I think his goal was 1,000. Lori's goal I think was like 4,900 or 4,750, around that, which is a little high. Travis's was 3,700, and JD was 3,500, and all four of those campaigns struggled. And Travis and JD are probably the most shocking out of the bunch, because both of those guys have been around for way too long to struggle. And I don't know if Travis is fully funded yet. And clearly, it is a different environment than it was 6 months ago.
I don't know, honestly. It's because everything's so hit and miss. It seems like 1 minute, you're getting interest on social media, and I don't think you should ever like equate that to dollar signs, because it's too unstable. But sometimes it does work, and the lightning is caught in the bottle, and you do convert those numbers over into pledges, and you get that money for it. But I can't speak for everybody, but in some cases, it could be storyline. You see some of these, they get into like issue 4, issue 5, stuff like that. I've seen, and then they start slowing down. You got to wonder. And I don't know. I'm not speculating here, but is it a storyline issue? Is it not grabbing people? Like you said. So I mean, that's where I think social media and all that stuff comes in, or even I put my email out there. I want people to tell me if there's a problem, if there's an issue with it, if you don't like it. Kind of like how people are always talking about like toxic fandom and stuff like that. I think it's important to really listen to your fans. And even if it's one, that's one person that is buying and supporting your book. So you should be out there trying to make them happy. It's not necessarily just about the individual. I think there's a responsibility to the people that are buying your book to keep it entertaining, to make sure that you're delivering what they enjoy.
I mean, I have my own theories on it, where I think it's the economy in a lot of ways. Where
A little bit.
has now started to cycle out of the economy. I know inflation supposedly is cooling down, but I don't know if that's exactly true. And I don't know. It might be that your milk might be 10 cents less, but there's other problems where it just might be stagnant. I also think that there's a lot of good books out there, and there's a lot of good product out there in comics right now that are not on Kickstarter, that is creating divergence, where now I am a more picky buyer. And 3 years ago, I was less picky. And I think that, as fans with artists and artists going exclusive and a variety of other things, I think, you have to really earn my dollar now.
Yeah, and that's where I think, like, people are kind of like we were talking about earlier, pricing people out of comics. When you're getting the no names and stuff like that, you can't really put 10, 20, 15, 20 on up on there and expect people to get it. I just pledged for oh geez, man, what's it called? Bigfoot Moonshine, or Moonshine Bigfoot. Look,
I know I have to reach out to them. I have to reach out to them.
oh my gosh! I mean, the art looks stellar. I personally haven't heard of the creative team and everything, but I noticed that they were selling the issues, first four issues, for the same price that I'm selling my books for. So I was like, oh my gosh! Well, here we go. It's a no brainer.
But they can do that because I think after they're done on the Kickstarter, they're going to be doing it through Image.
Oh, really? Didn't
So
know that.
so they have the ability to take lesser money up front. And that's where this goes down to, is that, they can sell 4 issues for $20, $25 because they know that they have Image money coming to them on the back end. And so it's a whole
It
different.
worked. They hooked me. That's all I'm saying.
It's complicated, and I mean, honestly, right now I'm in the process of expanding a business, so it's nothing against that book. I'm probably not going to pick it up because I am tapped out of money, and
Gotcha.
and all my money is going to stabilize product and going through expansion and some other stuff. And so, like, I hate to say it, but I'd rather take a sure thing until it's, because I went through expansion for the next 6 months.
Yeah, you
And it's a choice.
can't
And
argue with that.
nothing against anybody's book. It's just an unfortunate reality where I'm also looking at retail packages a lot more on Kickstarter, where when people give me a good retail package, I'm willing to take the bet on the retail package because I think I'll make money. So if somebody has a retail package on a particular book, or they want to do a private retail package with me, I'm open to that all the time. Especially if the price is right. But I digress. But the book looks good. It looks good. It looks great. But yeah, that adapt. But I think they're funded, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they funded.
Because I think isn't this their second time trying to fund the book?
I think so, because they do have 4 issues out or that are already completed.
I
So
think the first time they struggled.
oh really?
I really think that. I think this is the second time they tried to fund the book. I could be mistaken. I have to do my homework on it, but it
And
would
see,
not
that's the other
surprise me.
thing too. The indie scene is so huge. There's so much stuff out there. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, I don't even have. I'm trying to start my own studio. Reading proposals and stories and stuff that's coming in, trying to run a business. On top of trying to be an artist and all that kind of stuff, and writer for
Think
my own
about
stuff.
me running an eBay business, buying, selling comics and baseball cards and things of that nature. I put up something, and apparently I think it pissed off a few people. I said, as an investor, I get 150 to 200 options to buy comics and other assets every single week. I have to say no to almost 98% of it every single week.
See,
So
that makes
so
sense.
so this is insane. And I can make money on almost all 200 of those assets, which is ludicrous. So I'm at a weird point where I'm like, this book looks awesome. This thing looks great. I think I can make some money on it, but I have to say no to almost everything. And it is hard. And because there's a lot of good stuff out there, it's crazy. But I digress. If somebody wants to talk about this all day with me, I'm down for it. Invite me on your show. We can talk about this all day. I got hours upon hours to talk about finance with people.
Heck yeah.
I'll
I do have a show that I'm the co-host on Doc's Coffee Shop. So I'll have to have you on there. We talk, current events and comics and all that kind of stuff.
think I was on
Yeah.
there once. I think I was
Oh,
on
were you? Okay.
It's like Thanksgiving weekend or Christmas weekend. I forget which one it was. I just stopped by. I was like, "Hey, what's up, guys? This sounds fun." It was a good time. It was a good time. I mean, because I don't know if Doc's book came out, right? Did it come out yet or no?
Yeah. Well, he's shadow banned on Indiegogo.
I don't even keep up with this. I got so much going on. I've also had a crazy week, so I haven't been paying attention to anybody's project in the last 2 weeks. Nothing against anybody. I've been dealing with my own life for a
No.
good reason. PT kicks my ass, so on Friday night after PT, I'm done for the weekend.
Heck yeah.
I'm done. I'm like, nope, I'm good, guys. I'm good. Chill out. watch some wrestling, watch some Law and Order. I'm good, guys. Maybe play, a few video games, chill out, prep up for the next week. But yeah, no. Everybody's shadow banned on Indiegogo. If you're not shadow banned on Indiegogo, you're doing something wrong.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because it's a great story. I mean, it's actually got a story, and there's plan for, I believe he was telling me 4 books. So I mean, they're written, it's drawn. It just needs that funding, It's just crazy.
I don't really know. I don't play on Indiegogo.
I've had
familiar. I'm not
horrible experiences on Indiegogo, so I don't even mess around with Indiegogo now. People call it Indiegogo. I call it Indie No.
I'll be very honest. I'm having some bad experiences on Kickstarter. So
Oh, really?
I have a problem where I am long overdue on about 6 projects on Kickstarter. And then I have another outlaying of about 25. Now, those 25 aren't due yet, but they're getting close to being due. I mean, I understand that if I back a project in October and the delivery day is September of the following year, it's not late, but 8 months into that, and we're talking, May, June, I'm getting a little anxious for it. I think is a fair way to put it. A year's a long time for a project.
I've waited up to 2 years for.
But it's not late yet. It's Destiny New York. It's Pat Chan's book. It's not late because the delivery date, I think, is August, September, October. So
Okay.
He did nothing wrong, but I'm getting anxious nonetheless because you've had my money now for 8 months and I don't have your product yet. And now I'm getting anxious and I'm probably not going to back a project for a while that's a year out.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's a little weird to me to do that, and it's a lot, but I digress. But there's other projects that, should be in my hands soon, hopefully. But I am going to be having a lot of projects June and July coming. I'm probably going to have about 20 coming in June, July. So that we're back to January, February.
That's something I've had to learn too, as the creator, is making sure that there isn't a long wait period between the time the campaign ends and the time that I get it out to people, because I was terrible about it. I'm like, oh yeah, we can do it in less than a month, so I'm putting dates on there like, oh yeah, you're gonna have it within like 3 weeks, 4 weeks of being out, and then production stuff that I hadn't been privy to in over 20 years, production issues, things like that. I'm like, oh. So I that's where I think it's just important to be as transparent with.
Old Simpson did a good job where he got me in my book in like 3 weeks, which was crazy fast.
Yeah, that is.
And the book came out on a Sunday, which was weirder. But I digress. There's so much to cover on that. That's a whole different position.
Yeah, we could really go down the rabbit hole on that one.
But yeah, so I do want to show this. I think this is your cover A.
Yes.
I think this is your cover B. It's kind of Star Wars-esque.
Yeah.
That's your cover C. This is your cover D. D does not stand for double D's. I just want to make that clear. This is your cover E, I guess.
Yeah.
They're hand numbered, right? I think there's only like 100 of them, right?
There actually might be less. As of right now, I've only sold 50. So
are they print to order, or is there going to be 100 altogether?
It depends, because I did over 10 covers, and this is the first time. Some of them are print to order, and then like my A through D, I'm printing 80 plus, per.
I don't know. Did you freeze up, or I don't know if
no,
you were
I'm sorry. I must have
no, you weren't moving. That's why I was like, oh, it's like it looked like it trailed off. Oh, terrible. Just off. What a moment. That's why I asked. I'm like, is he done? Like, I don't know. He's not. Real long was going downward dog. Just
Went stealthy there for a second. I'm sorry.
because I know some people print 100 of a book and then that's that, or they print to order, and that's why I'm curious because that definitely changes the perspective of everything regarding this.
I try to do an overage because you got to think in case stuff gets damaged. I want to be able to take care of people. Now, I've seen it where more of your product gets damaged than you intended, and you got to do a complete reorder. And that's just something you got to be honest with the fans about and let them know what's going on and everything. But I think 9 times out of 10, people are more quick to give you a thumbs up if you're like, hey, I don't want to send you a damaged product. So they'll give you some leeway there on that one.
And then there's obviously this Steph Wilson right there.
Oh man, God, I love Steph stuff so much, and he's just such a great dude.
Yes, the cup method. The cup method. Great interview I did with him. We went through a lot of covers, a lot of fun stuff. And then there's RB White.
Yeah, I got RB White, and boy, he was fun to work with. I love his book too. He's got a book out there that's pretty badass.
So yeah, and then there's some nude versions of the Staff. The RB White has some nude stuff in it, and that's where you get up to 10 covers, I think, right?
Yeah, that's where
RB Whites, and you have one nude Staff. I don't think you have any other nudes in there.
No, just the 3.
And so, yeah, no. I mean, it makes sense. And then obviously, I mean, I think the RB White is what, $10 for the regular version of that, 20 for the nude, and then the extreme is 30. The step I think is 5 for the regular, and then 20 for the nude. I think I know the A through D is $3 a book, and then I mean I have this somewhere. I think the Steve Ferris, I think, which is the hand numbered, is also 5. If I'm not,
that's also a $5 book. Yeah,
and then I think that's it. I think you also offer like a digital, right?
Yep, I do the digital book as well.
And then obviously there's a bundle, I think, for covers A through D that's a little bit cheaper. I don't know if there's also a bundle to throw in Steve Harris's book in there, or I'm sure you have add-ons.
I have add-ons for a lot of that stuff.
And so obviously, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff, and it's not that expensive, all things considering. Yeah,
trying to keep it affordable. I like the idea of you got stuff that's low print run. Like I said, anywhere from 30 to 50 covers, stuff like that. It's great. There's a collector's market out there. And there's people that like to collect stuff. So I'm all about giving them something to collect. And then on the other flip side of that, you got to give people. You can't. We all can't have $20 Kickstarters coming out there. It's pricing people out of comics. So
there's a good way to put it, and it's an investor's position. You have a cow. You can do 2 things with your cow. Presuming it's a female cow,
right?
You can milk the cow and sell the milk, and keep the cow alive and milk it for the next 15 years, and you will get your money out very slowly out of the cow. Or you could kill the cow and sell the meat, and you might make 1.5 what you bought the cow for. But guess what? You don't have an asset now. And now, the question is that how do you want to make your money? So I think with Kickstarter and covers, it's the same way. Where do you want to kill your cow? And, you bought a cow for $300 and you killed it and you got $500. And maybe you do, because maybe you buy another cow for $300. Great. And you're $200 ahead. Or do you want to milk your cow, and every day or every other day you're getting some milk and you're selling the milk for $10? And it's going to take a while for you to make your money back, and you got to take care of the cow. But if you have $5 covers and people keep going back to you and you want to be in this business for 30 years, you might have a lot of customers for a while.
Hopefully.
That's how you have to figure out what business you want to run. And there's nothing wrong with either one of them. It's just the idea that how do you want to run your business? And there you go. But I digress. I prefer to milk the cow because it's a dividend perspective version of investing versus
Absolutely.
high growth.
No, I agree completely. Milk the cow, milk it, and milk it for all it's worth.
I can't wait. I want to buy a dairy farm. I really do. I really do. I want to buy cows that are not loved, and I want to keep them alive. And I just want to have a nice dairy farm, and then I want to make mean cheese that can keep the cheese out there. I want the
Heck
best
yeah.
because if I have the milk, I can make the cheese. It'll be fun. But I do want to buy a dairy farm. I know exactly what property I want to buy too.
Heck yeah.
Exactly what I want to do. It's amazing. And then on my dairy farm, I'm gonna create a wrestling event. 4 rings, fans are in the center, and we're gonna have 4 matches going on simultaneously at the same time.
Damn Skippy, that's what I'm talking about.
I know the exact promotion that I should do it with too. There's only one that's crazy enough to do it. There's only one. It's GCW. And as soon as I pitch them the idea, they're gonna be like, yeah, we kind of got to do this. But we're going to have like 150 wrestlers for that show. It's going to be crazy. They're going to have to call in like their West Coast team. And I'm going to have to call in like every independent promotion and be like, we need wrestlers. And it's going to be wild. We're going to need referees. Oh, man, I have the main event perfectly planned out. It's absolutely wonderful. But I digress. That's neither here nor there. We spoke about a lot of stuff. And I definitely want to give you a chance to promote yourself before we all get out of here. Where can people find you, bother you, hit you up? Obviously, social media, all that fun stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm on all social media. I play with the people over at the Madness, the Madness Comics Network. You can find me over there. Apothicpress.com. I mean that's got it all there. It's got my email. It's got my social medias. It's got everything. So you go to Apothic Press, look at some cool art, and reach out and touch me. That sounds horrible.
You should not invite that. You should not invite that in. I'm just saying.
What I meant to say was
so many things can be said on that. I am purposely being quiet. I make a joke. That's what she said. But I could run with that for years.
Oh man, yeah. I just opened myself. We do a meme review on the show that I'm on, and I just turned myself into a meme.
Well, I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna keep saying it. You have to support indie, and when people have campaigns, you need to support their campaigns. You need to check out what they're doing in their campaigns, and you need to back their campaigns if you want more of their content. And if the book is not for you, that's all right. But you should share out their campaign because you never know who's checking it out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere else on social media. Very important. Furthermore, you should be following people on social media. Makes a huge difference when you follow somebody on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, Facebook pages, Instagram. Makes a huge difference. You might not think it does, but it does. And also interacting with them on those platforms. Beyond helpful because you never know who's seeing it and it affects the algorithm. So go do that.
I suck. Tell me how I suck and why, and if you like it, tell me why you like it.
even just giving a heart on Instagram makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
And it's a small thing to do. And you never know. Again, it affects the algorithm massively. As far as I'm concerned with everything that I got going on, I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on YouTube. You could check out everything that I do. Obviously, subscribe on YouTube if you like my interviews or you want more content. I have like 500 to 600 interviews just on YouTube alone. So I guarantee you there's an interview for you, whether it's voice actors, anime, cartoons, pop culture people. I also have interviewed some adult entertainers on YouTube. So if that's your jam, I got you covered there too. I've interviewed a lot of comic writers and artists, some of the best in the world, as well as a bunch of cosplayers and professional wrestlers. So there's something for everyone there. And you never know who's going to come on my show. You never know who's going to come on my show, when they're going to come on my show. And you'll be pleasantly surprised. In the next few months, there might be a UFC fighter coming on. I'm
Heck
working
yeah.
on it right now, so you never know who's going to be on my show and why they're going to be there. So subscribe and you won't miss it, is all I'm going to say. And then I also have Buy Me a Coffee. So if you want to support independent media, you can buy me a coffee. It's not necessary. Or if you want to run ads on this show, I do have ad rates, but you could shoot me a message directly if you want to run ads, everybody. More than happy to do that. But most importantly, subscribe to me on YouTube. It means a lot. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Oh, wow. Good night, everybody.
I don't think I can
Thank you.
any better myself, everybody. That is a wrap.